Hello and welcome to today's episode. Now, if you were Shure and you had the SM58 and you had the Beta 58, the first one, the SM58 being cardioid and the Beta 58 being supercardioid, they've been about for a long time, and I guess you think you've got to come up with something new. Well, they did. They came up with the Nexadyne. Well, most people seem to think they sound okay. I'm just not quite sure if they sound okay enough for the hefty increase in price. And let's face it, a Nexadyne at the moment is going to set you back about 300 quid. So are they special enough to take over from the 58 and the Beta 58? I mean, we're talking about singing into them. We're talking about speaking into them. We're talking about, you know, like with the 58, you can slap it on anything almost, can't you? So is this new contender something that you can just use as widely as the old ones? And I honestly don't know. I've never actually thought to try it and see if there's this commonality. You know, can you use one of the new ones like you did the old ones? Now, the way it seems to work is that you can buy the Nexadyne in a cardioid, and it's then a replacement for the SM58, and you can buy it in the supercardioid, and it's a replacement for the Beta 58. That's the sort of train of thought I think Shure are going on. They're sort of saying lots of nice things about it, but they're a little bit airy-fairy, I think, in terms of explaining how the things work. So I thought what we'd do was have a look. I mean, there's a few notable differences. It comes in the hard case. This sort of thing is appearing more and more. I mean, a lot of the EV mics have been in these for a while now, and there's quite a few other brands that are using this type of sort of more hard, tough case. So what are the differences really when you sort of get it out? Well, it's got the new style Shure mic clamp. We've all learnt to love and perhaps hate the old ones. They're extremely tough, aren't they? But they're not exactly resilient. These are a little bit more give to them. So when you stick a microphone in, you can slide it in okay, or you can click it in, whichever is your preference. Okay, this distance from my mouth, let's switch from the SM7B, which we've been using so far, to the Nexadyne. So we're on the Nexadyne, and I thought what I'll perhaps do is tap it. If I just tap the actual all right, let's swap to the Beta 58 and do the same thing. Now, as far as I could do, that is me tapping the two exactly the same amount. So was that one? Let's try running my fingers along it. So that's the sort of noise that just moving my fingers on it while I'm speaking makes on the Nexadyne. Back to the 58. Let's try the same thing. So that's the same thing doing with my fingers, just sliding them along the tube of the mic. Okay, so now we've got the tone. We're talking at a distance, doing pretty much the same things. The one thing that does occur to me as I look at all three of these microphones is the silver grill on the 58 stands out to me, looking your way, like a sore thumb. I do quite like the black, and it's a similar sort of effect to talking into the SM7B. The black does make them sort of disappear a bit from the performer's aspect. I don't know, from your perspective, same thing? Is the black actually better than the dark grey with the silver and the blue band? Maybe that is an important feature. I don't really know. I've never really thought about the appearance of microphones too much. But there we go. Okay, I suppose now what we need to do is for me to move in closer. When I set the gains on these two microphones, they're within a gnat's whisker of each other. I mean, on this particular recorder, the gain setting is 8, and they're both on exactly the same, and the meters are reading identically as far as I can tell. So what I'll now do is move in closer, and let's see what the proximity effect changes are. Let's do it first on the Beta 58, because that's the one that we know from probably history, is actually a very warm microphone once you get close, and at this distance is usually a little bit on the thin side. So I'm going to now creep in and touch my lips almost on the grill of the 58. So we're going to get closer, and we're getting closer to the microphone, and closer and closer and closer and closer, and now my lips are almost on the grill of the Beta 58. I don't know how it responds too well to the pops and the bangs and the clicks and the T sounds, but this will give us a go. So let's go back out. I'll carry on at this volume. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. In post, I might actually just tweak that so we actually get the same volume. As I get closer, you then be able to hear the difference in tone better. Maybe that'll work. Let's do the same thing now with the Nexadyne. Going in closer, going in closer, going in closer, and now my lips are touching the wing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's try the P's, the B's, and the T sounds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and moving back to where we were. Okay, so there we have our test from distant to close, so we can keep track of the differences in proximity effect. I'll have a look at it in the edit and see which is the best way to let you hear accurately what I heard. So that's something I'll decide on later. I suppose what we now need to do is a check at more typical PA things. I'm thinking about when you stick the microphone and go, check 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2 in a loud voice. So I'll just tweak the gains and we'll do that. Right, Nexadyne this time. Nexadyne this time, and we're lips on the microphone. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Check, check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. The sort of thing that you do on stage, bellowing into the microphone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's the Nexadyne. Let's repeat it on the 58. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Check, check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is quite loud, and I'm actually projecting my voice in the same way that you would if there was an audience sitting in front of you. If I drop back down to a more moderate volume, things of course go back to normal. And just to repeat the normal volume into the microphone there, so you've got a bit of better idea of how they perhaps tolerate loud shouting voices. Right, what's next? Let's try some instruments. Remember, the tone from this part of an instrument like this is probably the nicest in terms of what you can do with it with EQ, but it does suffer from clacky keys. If you stick the microphone down that end, you get a much more sort of rounded, sort of ballsy sound. But if you were in the studio, you probably wouldn't use that miking, you'd use that. On stage, of course, it's usually the other way around, and we're probably going to want or have to use miking down there just to be able to get the volume. When you're miking from that position, you really can't get that close. But it does let you hear what the thing sounds like, and it reveals the mics that can do it and the mics that can't. So let's give it a go. If I lean back, let's see if we can do the same thing from the very bottom. We'll do the same thing a bit with the bottom end of the clarinet. that end first, and then we'll do the nicer part up here. Now the closer in bit. Could you hear the keys click on both the sax and this? One of the things that the SM58 and the Beta 58 do is, at a distance, they're quite sort of susceptible to the clicking of this sort of stuff. So it's always a thing that if you are trying to record them like in the studio, they're probably not the mic of choice for an instrument like this. On stage, yeah, shove it down there and EQ the hell out of it to make it sound nice. So this time, let's aim both of these at the sound hole on this guitar, play it and see what the results are. Because that's what you would do with a 58 or a Beta 58 on stage. If that was the only mic you had left, it would work quite fine. Will this? So, what we're going to do? Do we use the Beta 58 that we've used forever and put up with the sort of noises that a hand can make? How about the stand clip? Well, let's do that horrible thing. Snap it on. Okay, I've snapped it on. Was that acceptable noise to you? What happens if we do it on the other one? So let's go back to using this one. So, I don't know. The Nexadyne, is it a good microphone? I think it is. I think in actual fact, sound-wise, I do think I prefer it to the 58. Handling noise? Well, yeah. I mean, I had expected from the blurb, silence. What we've really got is reduced. How about the clip? That's the click. Could you have put up with that when the person on stage clips it into the mic stand? I don't know. I mean, do a little, a little finale if you like. So, all right, this is the Nexadyne, and this is the Beta 58. This is the Nexadyne. This is the Beta 58. What do you think? Well, my conclusion is that they're not very good for stuffing up the end of a saxophone or stuffing it up the end of the clarinet, because the sound that comes out of that place is compromised anyway, but it is the way that you end up doing it on stage most times. And from that very thin sound that they both had, you would need some fairly aggressive EQ, wouldn't you, to try and sort that out. And of course that's what we always do. We add some reverb, put the sort of smoothness back in as best we can, but it involves quite a lot of EQ. The position over the keys is much better, but they are a bit clacky. So what's it boiled down to? Well, nearly £200. That's what it boils down to. Can you actually say that this microphone is £300 worth and this microphone is just over 100 quid's worth? I don't know. Am I going to buy another one to match this one? No, I'm not. I've got one, And I do quite like the sound, but I'm afraid for my money, I could buy more of these for the price of that. And that's what's more important, I think, for me. So I don't know about reliability. I don't know what happens if you try and sort of drop it onto hard floors like you can with these and they don't seem to sort of suffer. It's a sort of work in progress, I suppose. I do like the sound. I don't like the price. I'm not sure if what we've got here is a product that doesn't really have a market. We'll have to wait and see if in a year's time the hire companies are going big things on this one. My guess is that lots of people who only want one mic, let's say a singer buys a microphone, this might well be a really nice mic to have because it does handle the differences in distance quite nicely. Far less pronounced than using the Beta 58 or the ordinary SM58. So it does have a home. It's just a rather expensive home. But if someone wants a microphone and they want a nicer sound than this, yeah, I think it might work. What do you reckon? Anyway, see you on the next video. Look after yourselves. Take care.